when you're hiring a personal trainer, you're looking for expertise, and you're looking for someone to hold the goals that you strive for, and the realities of your ability, and perhaps the pressures of your day-to-day life, and to hold all of those things in a balance to help you find a route to that goal. I think there's a lot of essentials, but fundamentally, I would say, from the client's perspective, whatever trainer you're going to work with, it's got to be somebody that you get along well with, because you've got to enjoy what you're doing. You've got to enjoy exercise to be consistent at it, and you've got to be consistent to get results. So I think having that connection is probably it's an intangible thing. It's hard to quantify, but it's probably the most important thing overall for me. A really important point that Tom makes is that the trainer aligns with your goals, and that could be a qualification. Certainly for things like, if you were interested in getting into, say, kettlebell competitions or something like that, having a trainer who's kettlebell qualified, but that's quite a niche thing. I'd say it's more about, does the type of training the trainer delivers align with your broader goals? So, if you just want to be generally fitter, healthier, feel better, most good PTs should be able to help you with that. But if you want to get into something quite specific, like powerlifting, or you want to run a marathon or something like that, then you need to start asking yourself questions like, does my trainer do marathons themselves, or do they have any experience coaching running or something like that? You've got to make sure that the person you're going to work with has either got some experience or some background that aligns with your goal.
Well, on what you've just said, a good trainer needs to be not just they can't just be physically fit themselves. They need to be a good coach to coach other people how to be fit. They don't necessarily have to be the most super fit person in the world, but they need to be able to teach people how to do it and make people feel good when they're doing it. But I don't know if you can't really. That's it's kind of an opinion, isn't it? Because someone might really like one coach more than another, so you can't just say I am a good coach, full stop. I might be a good coach for somebody but not others, but they need to be a good coach for you,
yes,
for the client.
Yes. I was probably coming back more because that's sort of just like an obvious thing, isn't it? Asking you to elaborate on something that's really obvious. Coming back to the coach thing, like what's the sort of because it is a bit of a controversial thing about can you be the coach who sort of let him or herself go and is a good teacher but doesn't necessarily walk the walk? Like, is that an essential thing to be walking the walk, do you guys think? Or
I don't think you don't necessarily have to walk the same walk. I think you need to walk the walk. You've got to you've got to have experience, and preferably still current experience, of fitness at a high level. That doesn't have to be in exactly the same domain as your client, providing you have experience and relevant skills to coach it. So I wouldn't be in a position to run a marathon right now, but I have done in the past, and I'd feel confident coaching someone in a running program. I've never been a powerlifter, but I'd feel confident coaching someone in a strength and conditioning program. And so I guess I'd suggest that your trainer does want to walk the walk. He does want to have a healthy lifestyle. He probably also he or she wants to be relatable. I think a lot of clients, especially the kind of clients we help, are looking for a really relatable trainer. They're not looking for a robot who tells them it's got to be 110% every day, and only the best every single day will do. Because the reality for most people is getting it right 80% of the time is still going to have them get great results. So I'd want a trainer that walk the walk, but in a realistic and relatable way.
I think in a general sense, then I'd say you'd need to walk the walk the majority of the time during in your life, because you might have the knowledge and the skill set to get someone to where they need to be, but they might feel it might be a bit hypocritical if you're telling someone to do one thing and you're not doing it yourself, your own health. But obviously no one's perfect. No one's perfect. Like even a personal trainer isn't perfect. So like being relatable, I think, is the key as well. If they know that you yourself have times where you don't want to exercise or you let your diet slip or something like that, everyone has it. So you've got to be relatable. But I think maybe like an 80-20, walk the walk, and then like a 20% time enjoy yourself, or like not enjoy yourself, but
Yeah.
I think as a trainer, it would be very difficult to be giving out healthy, like nutritional and fitness advice if you weren't doing it yourself, because I think you would feel hypocritical as well. I would then not make your sessions particularly rewarding if you knew you were saying stuff that you didn't do either. I think so to be a good trainer, for like if you're doing it yourself, it's much easier to give out that. You know, it's working for you, and you feel like, oh, I've done this, and you can talk about what works for you, and even if it's not the same, but you kind of
you might even get like a client thinking, well, how much does he or she actually believe in what they're telling me, because they don't do it themselves pretty much. So
I don't think it's not like you have to look a certain way. I think everyone's body shape's different and depends what you're training, whatever. But I think you need to be actively engaged in some sort of reasonably good nutrition and exercise.
Yeah. I guess what we're kind of the difference between the elite athlete and the sort of the person who wants to be fitter, healthier, happier. I guess what we're saying is that literally everybody will benefit from living this way, whereas the athlete is like, this is a very specific goal. Actually, you don't need to be at that level to be healthier and to enjoy your life more. That's just a specific goal that they've got because it's their context, whereas everyone else will benefit from being a little bit fitter and healthier. And so if we don't live that out, we're kind of, that's where the hypocrisy comes in, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah, for sure.
I would say, first up, I think it's really important that they be able to help you set realistic expectations. Some people come to PT with unrealistic expectations. Others perhaps undersell themselves and don't think they'll achieve as much as they really will. So I think having a trainer that can be honest with you right from the start and help you set expectations so that when you hit your goals or even do better than that, you get that sense of achievement. And that can only really come with experience. You've got to work with enough people and have the confidence in your programming yourself, I think, as a trainer, to know whether you're going to be able to judge someone's goals accurately enough over, say, 6 weeks or 3 months or 6 months or something like that. So goal setting, I guess that kind of wraps up into goal setting. Like that's the first part I'd expect as a part of any service.
And I guess it sort of generally speaks into, you've got the sessions and then you've got what my clients might do outside of that. So what could a client expect from a quality service in order to help them, do healthier things outside of sessions?
Sort of goes back to the accountability, but having someone there might motivate. I find motivates people a lot more than if they're on their own. So motivation is a big one they can get out of it.
I think that's where our system of using the healthy habits really has value, by identifying the handful of things that each person can start doing right from the start of their program to support the 5 simplest things that are going to have the biggest benefit to support and get the most benefit from the additional exercise they're bringing into their life. So say whether that's helping them get more sleep, get sleep at more regular hours, drink more, whatever it is, it's just providing a way to help them identify that and then track it and then stay accountable to it.
I was just going to say, having the ability to have a workout that's actually effective. Like I think any trainer can go and wear someone out for half an hour, in the gym, down the park, at their house, and the client might feel good after I've had a really good workout after that. But I feel like clients should leave a workout feeling more energized rather than feeling depleted after a workout. So I guess it's having the ability to know what the right dosage of exercise for the client is, and then increasing that as they start to progress themselves.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you need the energy to do the rest of the healthy habits, don't you?
Exactly, yeah.
Especially 23 hours of your day that you need energy for to do well on those. If you're completely wiped, you can't, you've got nothing left to do those.
Yeah.
They don't get to know you or your life, your family. They don't ask how you've been or know or ask specifically like, oh, I know you were doing X, Y, and Z on last weekend. How did it go? Or kind of had a real interest in you outside of the sessions as well. And I guess making that hour 100% yours. They should be completely solely focused on you in that hour. That might be the only hour that you get that is yours that week, or those 2 hours a week. So they should be completely focused on you, making sure that they're holding you accountable to your goals, giving you a good workout, and making you feel good. Stops you making assumptions as well, I think, about people. It's quite easy to go, oh, that happened because of, and you can kind of put into their head what you think it might be, but actually it could be a completely different reason. And if you kind of keep talking, you might lose their trust as well. If you're kind of just talking about your experience and not listening to what they actually are going through or what the challenges are.
Yeah. Yeah, so true, isn't it? I heard it being said as well about how, like, if you say more things, if you keep adding to what you've said, every time you add something, it dilutes everything you've said previously. So the idea is to communicate the most important thing for them in as few words as possible. I'm really good at not doing that. But it's a work in progress. Anything else?
I think that's where variety is really important as well. I guess something we haven't touched on so far is you were saying about character traits of good PTs. I think flexibility. We all get kind of taught and then learn on the job how to do effective exercise programming, but I would say that 50% of sessions need some kind of in the moment adaptation. Perhaps somebody might have picked up a small injury or just not be feeling great one day, or you've got to be able to think on your feet and still do something that's effective for them.
Ab curlers, remember them? What a ridiculous money-making enterprise. And I suppose the other one that I thought of was, I guess in the same sort of vein, but like a gym is sort of attracts people because people think that it, because it's got all of the gear, you're going to get more out of it. Whereas I would say that's a bit of a red herring, because it's not about how fancy your gym is. It's about how well you put sort of basic stuff into practice week by week. Would you guys agree with that? Does that sort of make sense?
But the client's got to get there, haven't they? So that's like a number one barrier for people to exercise, is getting to somewhere to do it. So yeah, it's not necessary, is it?
Out of these kind of remaining questions, what is there anything in particular that you think is you've got some particularly strong thoughts about? I would love to sort of open up the area about personality versus expertise. Let's go there, and then we'll sort of see how we go for time. But how important is personality versus expertise when it comes to finding the right trainer? I know we sort of touched on this earlier.
Yeah, like I said at the start, I actually think it's the most important thing, because yes, qualification's really important. You've got to know your stuff, but just because you know your stuff doesn't mean that you can get someone to want to do it and enjoy it and therefore do it sustainably. So I think being able to, it's a relationship, it's a partnership, it's a two-way thing, and trainer and client have got to trust each other and get along well. You haven't got to be absolute best friends. You got to have that kind of ability to work together. And some people need different things. Some people need that kind of best friend type approach and the slightly kind of more compassionate side. And then other people need somebody who will stand up to them and call them out on the stuff they're not doing. So it can be different for every person, but I think it's fundamentally it's the bit that makes it personal.
You can look at expertise in different ways, can't you? You could think about expertise being about health and fitness, just knowing loads about muscle groups and how to, like, hypertrophy or weight loss specifically, or nutrition, but actually your expertise could be more on behavior change, which is kind of being able to be personable and getting to know the client. So that could be the expertise rather than the health and fitness side of things.
Yes.
And there's no reason why you can't find a trainer who has all the expertise in the world about health and fitness and you get along with as well. So that's the benefit of personal training, isn't it? There's so many different people out there and you might just find one that has both.
Yeah. Any thoughts?
It sort of came back to me, the thing I was thinking about, and it kind of relates to this, but it was kind of thinking about, we've talked a lot about the kind of desirable traits of the ideal personal trainer. And what kind of got me thinking was, there is a stereotype. Personal training as a profession has some stereotypes attached to it for sure. And one of the things that I think really elevates everyone who works for at-home fitness, distinguishes us away from that stereotype is I've yet to meet any of our trainers who didn't have, great life experience. Like they've been and done other things. They live in the real world. They have other priorities themselves other than just their exercise. A lot of people have got families, so that gives them that extra relatability and kind of real world side to their personality that a lot of perhaps younger trainers who are kind of perhaps straight out of school or college and straight into working in gyms. Everyone at home fitness is a business owner, and they're motivated enough to do that for themselves. And I think that's one of the things that really distinguishes our trainers from perhaps takes them up above and beyond even the things we've talked about, which is like the kind of ideal generic sort of traits of the personal trainer.